Liverpool stepping up bid to sign Palace's Guehi. Liverpool are stepping up their attempts to sign Crystal Palace and England centre-back Marc Guehi. Palace captain Guehi has a year left on his contract, but chairman Steve Parish said earlier this week he could be sold this summer to avoid him moving on a free transfer in 12 months' time. Sources have told BBC Sport that Liverpool have held initial talks with a view to signing the 25-year-old before the summer transfer window shuts. Liverpool are also trying to sign Parma centre-back Giovanni Leoni. The 18-year-old Italian is not seen as a potential rival for Guehi, but more as one for the future. Guehi was the subject of bids worth up to £65 million from Newcastle last year. The FA Cup winners are believed to want £40 million for him now, but Liverpool want to pay less than that. The Reds have already spent about £270 million this summer, though they have recouped about £170 million through player sales. They have also had a £110 million bid for Alexander Isak rejected by Newcastle. Those sources have told BBC Sport the Swede remains determined to move to Anfield. Signing Guehi and Isak would take Liverpool's summer spending above £400 million. Alexander Isak phone call to Eddie Howe speaks volumes amid Newcastle United and Liverpool saga. Newcastle United's world was rocked when it emerged that Alexander Isak wants to leave the club. On the 24th of July 2025, news broke that Alexander Isak wanted to leave Newcastle United. He was not going on the club's pre-season trip to Asia, and he has not trained with the rest of the Newcastle United squad since. Isak wants to join Liverpool, but it remains to be seen if the Reds will meet his £150 million asking price. Whether they do or not, Newcastle United's stance is clear. Isak is not for sale, with the 25-year-old on course to stay at St. James's Park. Meanwhile, that is not what the Sweden international wants, having informed the club of his desire to leave long before the 24th of July. Alexander Isak told Eddie Howe he wants to leave Newcastle United last season. Incredibly, Isak had actually told Eddie Howe about his decision to call time on his Newcastle United career when the 2024-25 season was still going on. That is according to The Athletic and David Ornstein, who have dropped a fresh bombshell with regards to the Isak situation. According to The Athletic, Isak actually told Howe that he wants to leave 2 weeks before the end of last season. They add that he then reinforced his stance to the Newcastle United manager after the loss to Everton on the final day of the season. That was the day that the Magpies secured Champions League qualification. Even when Newcastle were still pushing to qualify for the Champions League, Isak had made it clear that he wants to leave. That is extremely disappointing. What Alexander Isak is now saying about his Newcastle United future, fast forward to the present day, and the situation has only gotten worse. Isak is training on his own, while he is not going to be involved in the Magpies Premier League opener against Aston Villa. In fact, he may never represent the club again. The Athletic state, Isak never wants to play for Newcastle United again and has no plans to reintegrate into the squad. It is another huge twist in this roller coaster of a story. That puts the pressure back on Newcastle, as even if they keep him at St. James's Park for another year, they might not be able to play him. It is an absolute mess of a situation, and one that has completely tarnished Isak's legacy at St. James's Park. For many, he would have been considered a Newcastle United legend for what he did in the 2025 Carabao Cup final. 5 months later, it is quite spectacular how things have unraveled. Liverpool and Crystal Palace to resume negotiations over £45 million. Marc Guehi transfer. Crystal Palace beat Liverpool 3-2 on penalties after a 2-2 draw took the 2025 Community Shield final to a shootout on Sunday, but talks between the two clubs for the transfer of captain Marc Guehi are set to resume. Hugo Ekitike and Jeremy Frimpong marked their first competitive fixture with the Reds, with a goal apiece, but will have to wait for the Premier League season opener against Bournemouth for a chance at a first win. Liverpool's need for depth in attack and defense was again highlighted on Sunday, with Arne Slot's bench not as strong as it was last season, given recent transfers and the tragic death of Diogo Jota. The Luis Diaz and Darwin Núñez transfers mean that Ekitike is the club's only strikers, with Cody Gakpo emphatic in the last year that he is not a number 9 and prefers playing on the wing. Liverpool remain interested in Alexander Isak and now appear to be readying another attempt to sign Marc Guehi. Last month, they were in pole position to sign Guehi before they pivoted to Isak, but they are ready to return to the table now. Liverpool launches a bid to sign Marc Guehi to replace Jarell Quansah. Since Quansah made his £35 million switch to Bayer Leverkusen, Liverpool have had a problem at centre-back, but they are now moving to solve the issue with a move to sign Marc Guehi. According to a report from Spanish news outlet, Fichajes titled Liverpool launches a bid to sign Marc Guehi. They claim that Liverpool and Crystal Palace will resume negotiations for Marc Guehi, valued at £45 million. Arne Slot reportedly wanted to sign Guehi since last season, and with the sheer amount of games Liverpool must play if they want to compete for every trophy, signing the England international is a pivotal move. Guehi, for his part, wants to qualify for the England squad for the 2026 FIFA World Cup and wants to play regularly enough to figure in Thomas Tuchel's thinking. Having won the Premier League last season, Liverpool are likely to be keen to make a stronger push in Europe after being eliminated from the Champions League by eventual winners PSG. Guehi's presence would enable Slot to rest Virgil van Dijk and Ibrahima Konate as he sees fit to keep them fresh for the end-of-season run-in. Fly high again, Benjamin Sesko reveals why he joined Unbelievable. Man UTD, a £74 million striker, sets targets after Old Trafford arrival. Benjamin Sesko says he wants Manchester United to fly high again while revealing his reasons for joining the club. Sesko signs for Man UTD, wants club to fly high again, reveals why he joined them, recommended external content video. We need your consent to show you content our editorial team embedded from video. You can toggle this and all other embeds from video across goal.com on with one click only and deactivate as well. Always display video content. I confirm that I would like to see external content. Personal identifiable data could be transferred to third parties. What happened? Sesko swapped RB Leipzig for United for a fee worth up to £74 million, $100 million, on Saturday, with the 22-year-old signing a contract until 2030. Ahead of potentially making his club debut, the Slovenia international says United's unbelievable history was a big factor in him signing for Ruben Amorim's team, who finished 15th in the Premier League last term, among other reasons. What Sesko said. When asked about his ambitions at his new team, he told the club's website, "Just that we get better, that we connect together in general, and we as a team just try to grow together step by step because we're getting better. We're just even more complete and complete. It's just a matter of time when we can fly high again." On his reasons for joining United, he added, "I think first of all, because of the club, it's just a historical club that is unbelievable. For me, the team is great. It is getting better and better, and that's why also there is just stuff that makes you come there, gives you this energy that you want to be part of. I think it's a great project in general, and I can't wait to start, definitely, the bigger picture." While Sesko is thrilled to have joined the Premier League giants, the young forward will be under pressure to hit the ground running at Old Trafford. The Red Devils have struggled for goals in recent years, with strikers Rasmus Højlund and Joshua Zirkzee providing just 7 between them last season. There isn't much time for an easing in period, so the 6'5" attacker needs to start well, else the critics will mount fast. What next? Sesko's new side begin their Premier League season on Sunday at home to rivals Arsenal before traveling to Fulham a week later. They then round off the month with a home clash against newly promoted Burnley on August 30th. Alexander Isak has played every transfer hit Liverpool need clear amid £150 million waiting game. The Echo's post-match talking point as the Reds are beaten on penalties in the Community Shield by Crystal Palace. Newcastle United striker Alexander Isak. For a club whose investment has reached historic levels this summer, it might seem peculiar to suggest Liverpool are undercooked. But with the defense of their Premier League title due to get underway in 5 days' time, the penalty shootout defeat to Crystal Palace in the Community Shield has shone the spotlight on the areas where improvement can be found for the champions. It would be wrong to suggest the 2-2 draw with FA Cup holders. Palace represented a screeching realization for Arne Slot, about his squad's shortcomings. But it is clear that tactical tweaks and market moves are still needed before the Reds are fully equipped to go again. He had a good impact, but he is also an example of a player who came, I think, 1.5 to 2 weeks ago at the end of our Asian tour, said Arne Slot of Hugo Ekitike's eye-catching 70-minute cameo on Sunday. So for me, with only 3 or 4 days before the Friday game, it wouldn't be smart to play him for 90 minutes because, of course, we have Federico Chiesa, but he has not been on the Asian tour as well, so there's not a lot to replace him with. So, if he gets an injury at this moment of time, that would be a big risk for the Bournemouth, Newcastle, and Arsenal games. That's why I took him off, but he had a good game today, that's for sure. Ekitike, a £79 million arrival from Eintracht Frankfurt last month, has looked sharp, silky, and powerful during his limited time as a Reds player, but it's curious to note that he remains, for now, the only recognized senior center forward at the club. Cody Gakpo has always been a versatile, multifunctional sort of footballer, but Slot has shown no inclination to move the Netherlands international away from the left side of the attack, where he made his name at PSV Eindhoven and as a regular for the Dutch side. And given Gakpo recorded his best season to date on Merseyside last time out, it makes total sense to keep him stationed on the left. Even more so now Luis Diaz has moved to Bayern Munich in a £65.5 million deal. 16-year-old Rio Ngamoha has lit up pre-season at times, but he is a work in progress who is not yet ready to challenge Gakpo for a regular spot, despite the undoubted excitement around the talented teen. So the current situation leaves Liverpool with 4 senior forwards alongside Ngamoha, with one of them in Federico Chiesa, still with plenty to prove at Anfield. The Italy international's pedigree was talked up when he joined 12 months ago from Juventus, but there has been precious little evidence of why he has his reputation so far as a Liverpool player. Speculation over his future persists and minutes remain limited. Well, we just lost Darwin, Virgil van Dijk said at Wembley. He went to Saudi and we lost Lucho, Diaz. Obviously, he went to Bayern. I think there's always room for an attacker in order to strengthen us. So let's see what the window brings in terms of the balance of the team. I said it last year, we had to trust the club, the board, and the people to make the right decisions in order to help the club to even improve in all positions. Even with the season we had last season, and I think that is a good sign, I think they have been doing pretty well. The decisions to allow both Diaz and Nunez to leave have been drawn into sharp focus. Liverpool have still looked a smooth operation in the final third at times in the 2 games played without the South American duo, but over the course of the campaign, it's clear the options are not as plentiful. The obvious asterisk is the unimaginably tragic loss of Diogo Jota in early July, but the willingness to sell Diaz and Nunez, who had both made it clear they wanted to leave, means sporting director Richard Hughes must have a plan. Much rests on the future of one-away Alexander Isak at Newcastle United, someone who has played all the hits in his efforts to leave St. James's Park. After deciding against joining the club on their tour of the Far East by citing a minor thigh injury, Isak then resumed training at former club Real Sociedad before returning to the Newcastle setup to step up his workload away from his teammates. Eddie Howe has been critical of Isak's conduct to a point, and reports of his banishing from a family barbecue at the club's training ground earlier this month suggested there is little way back for the former Sociedad striker in the Northeast, even if selling their star man remains an unpalatable prospect for Magpies. After seeing a £110 million buy rejected for the Sweden international earlier this month, Liverpool have made it clear negotiations won't resume while Newcastle remain without the players they have identified to replace Isak. It's been widely reported they have set an asking price at an eye-watering £150 million. But there might need to be some bartering before an eventual British transfer record sum is agreed upon. A lot depends on Newcastle's ability to source an adequate successor for Isak, but Andy Howe, the nephew of Eddie, has so far proven woefully out of his depth while in charge of recruitment in lieu of a full-time sporting director, which has been vacant since the combative Paul Mitchell stepped away. Never has the importance of a proper sporting operations department been more apparent given the raft of targets who have slipped through Newcastle's grasp in recent weeks. For Liverpool, they certainly have that, but the wait goes on to see if Hughes is able to add an Isak feather to his increasingly colorful cap. Slot may find himself having to make do with the current options at his disposal as the fascinating situation at Newcastle continues without a resolution seemingly in sight. Liverpool at least know who they want in their efforts to further renovate the attacking department. But the waiting game goes on.